Okay.
Offer you to make some fresh coffee.
Oh, nice.
Water.
I got some water.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, so we have the meeting up on my laptop. Now we need to get it up there. Hey, Dulce.
Are they comfortable? Yeah, they seem like they're like super light. Yeah, the only thing that they're just like cushion. Nice. Oh.
Does anybody know an administrator password, Janine?
I do not. You have to call Tanya.
Okay.
Um,
Hi there, how are you?
Good to see ya. Can you have a picture real quick? I don't know if you've heard, but Valerie.
I did not.
But first one I will do a whole public communication.
Okay, good. Well, mum's the word until I see the public communication.
Yeah, right. And Tanya has a baby, obviously, you know.
We're pretty excited.
Yeah.
We love the pictures.
Oh, I know.
Nice. How about CHBC?
How are you? Hey, what's the password? It says administrator. What's the password? Yeah, Tanya has that one. Send me
Is it okay for me to sit?
Sure, yeah, you're fine. Thank you.
Don't wanna.
Surprise, Robert.
Hi there.
Surprise.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our meeting tonight in the Senior Center.
Surprise, Robert.
Yeah. Hello.
Look, I was about to say, I wish I was, I wish I was in person with you all, but Zoom is much better.
Oh, sure. That's nice. Well, you just enjoy us from the comfort of your home. And please
Actually,
give
I'm in
us
a,
a few
actually, I'm
more
in a
minutes
coffee
as
shop.
we get set up, okay?
All
Thank
right.
you. Okay, can you hear us? I think so. Okay, now, feel free to call me in order whenever you like.
Well, good evening, everyone. Today is our in-person since the COVID. The meeting is now been called. Or the time now, I hope that's possible. It says it is 5:30. Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna call the roll. Down to Bill without, without the evening. Shirley Scott. Okay, we have. We have one here, reference out, and myself, and meeting there. The approval of the agenda and the minutes, you all got a chance to visit this evening. But it
Okay, Mike, check.
a little technical difficulty, please bear with me. Hello? Okay, I think I should do it. Okay. How's that? Much better? No, thank you, Robert. Okay, I had just mentioned the approval of the agenda, today's agenda for Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. If we can have that approval of the agenda. And if you're ready to also to accept the minutes, I would like to have a motion, please.
The motion to approve today's agenda from March 7th, and also to approve the minutes for February 7th. And accept them.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none? Thank you. We will be using the agenda for the evening, and the minutes has been accepted. I agree. Public comments, 2 minutes.
I do.
Of Zoom, thank you. Please announce your name, so we can have your name and.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clear, and it sounds like it is for you.
Yeah, that's me. So good evening, Acting Chair Meredith, board members. I am Cordell Hendler and I'm a Richmond resident. So I have 2 announcements to share with you all. So number one is the MAC is invited to the Point Richmond Business Association luncheon on March 29th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. at Hotel MAC. And our very special guest is going to be Mayor Eduardo Martinez, who is going to talk to us about what's going on with the city. And it's $20 a person, and that includes lunch too. So that's one announcement. And then number 2 is I am so glad to see the MAC board in the room together. So it's nice. So hopefully I will come either next month or May, whichever is convenient for me. So that's it. And I have to hop off. I have another meeting scheduled. So I'll see y'all next month.
Okay, thank you, Cordell. Any other public speakers, comments at this time?
Yes, I do.
Please proceed and announce your name.
Good evening. I'm Rod Chu with Meals on Wheels with Contra Cossack. Yes, and I'm the Community Outreach Manager. And I would like to announce a new cultural cuisine menu. Yeah, culturally inspired menus for new clients. Some examples is tamale casserole, Salisbury steak, palak tofu, which is a spinach tofu. Sounds good this time of day, so thank you. And I'll put our website in the chat.
I think we lost you. We stopped at Salisbury steak.
Salisbury steak,
Yeah,
palak tofu.
yeah, you pick up from Salisbury steak and then continue. We lost you there.
Okay. And then palak tofu, which is spinach tofu, and Swiss steak. And I'll put our website in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other public comments?
I have my hand up.
Okay, I can't see that for, but I think that's Cynthia.
That is Cynthia.
Okay, Cynthia, please.
Muted. I would like to have a roll call because I'm not there, and for my minutes, I need a roll call.
Okay, we did do the roll call and we will submit it to you after the meeting.
I
The
have
only
my-
one missing right now is
My hand up.
Don Gilmore and Princess Robinson. Everyone else is intending.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Is that suffice, Cynthia?
That's good. That's good enough.
Okay, very good. Okay, are there any other
I have
public
my hand up.
comments? If not, we're gonna keep moving.
I have,
Okay.
and
Ms. Eleanor?
hi,
Okay,
okay, how you all doing? Okay, I think that the resource center is on its way, but we don't want to forget about the museum, that we want to make sure, hopefully that will be named after Dr. Henry Clark, and that will also come, about. So we're gonna work on the resource center. Maybe somebody want to take that over. Not the resource center. The museum.
okay. Are you done?
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any others? One more? If you can see them, please announce.
Good evening, I'm Miss Annie, and everyone that's in attendance. How's everyone? I just wanted to quickly mention, just in case some people are not here at the end of the meeting, a couple things going on. I'm a North Richmond resident, and I'm also with Urban Tilth. Urban Tilth will be giving away fruit trees on Saturday. The closest location for North Richmond is Verde. It's from 10 to 12. It's on a first come, first served basis. Also want to invite you for March 25th. That's our local Heroes and Rain Gardens event. And I'll put that in the chat. And also the last thing is that we're forming a community advisory committee, and currently we're looking for Southeast Asian representation. So we want the committee to look like the community. And yeah, so I just wanted to say that just in case some of you are not here at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Letitia. And Ms. Martha?
My name is Martha Nieto. I'm the school community worker at Verde. And I want to invite everybody to the community to celebrate. We are going to recognize the students at Verde to improve in math literacy and good attendance. So we're gonna celebrate on the March 22nd, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So everybody's invited. We are gonna have a community resources. So whoever wants to come and have a table, you are welcome. So thank you very much.
And
March 22nd.
okay, and Ms. Martha, if you can give that information to Robert in order for him to give it so we can have a document. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, any others? Okay, I'm doing a countdown, Director. Okay.
I just want to say, pleasure to be here. My name is David Alvarado. I represent the West County Wastewater District. I'm Vice President for the Records. I serve with Annie, and today is my first in-person meeting. I can attend meeting online, so it's nice to see everybody. So they can make me help. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Alvarado. And he is our Vice President. Thank you. Welcome. Okay, and audience, this is in person. You just want to just announce your name to let them know that you all braved it and came in through the cold air and not warm at home. If you want to announce the name here, and then we can start moving.
I'm on a favorite hill with I need the community chair.
Thank you. Welcome.
I'm saying, and I leave tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And our host, just mention your name.
Just to me, check keeper, communication editor.
Okay, thank you. Now we know everyone and we get ready to start and keep it moving. Okay, so I don't see any law enforcement here unless they're on Zoom. And if you are on Zoom, you're on at this moment.
Hi, good evening. Lieutenant Rodriguez here from Bay Station. I'll start off with the select crime trends for the month of February. Excuse me, for the 3-month period for December, January, and February. In the month of December, we saw 15 select crimes. Month of January was 14. And in the month of February, we had 3. The biggest significance for the decrease there, both for December and January, was in each of those months, we recovered 7 vehicles, 7 stolen vehicles, I should say. Primarily being dumped along the railroad tracks. So we've set up operations to try and catch the folks that are responsible for that. And actually, speaking of which, today, one of our resident deputies, along with the police from BNSF Railroad, were out working along the Fish Passage as well as the railroad tracks, contacting folks that are in several encampments back there and getting them moved along. So that's just a part of a larger effort. Today was just offering them resources and advising them of their need to leave because they are trespassing on that property. For our calls for service for the month of February, we saw 314 calls for service, which generated 33 reports. Of a major note, and one of the things that we're noticing a lot, and especially now that we have Deputy Sakai in the mitigation resident deputy position, is the illegal dumping has really picked up. Just to give you guys an example, just looking at the unit history from yesterday for Deputy Sakai, looks like we had a dump at Vernon Avenue in York Street. It appears to have been construction material, yard waste, TV boxes, other household waste. Another one shortly after that, or excuse me, prior to that, was at 7th Street in Grove, and that one was actually hazardous materials. That was paint canisters, oil containers, some unknown substances, and paint buckets. But this is just something that has been more prevalent, not just in North Richmond, but on the west end of the county at large. And there's a couple other hotspots that we're keeping our eye on. Deputy Sakai has been doing a great job. He's actually identified the responsibles in a number of these cases and contacted them, and the reports have been generated and forwarded. So he is doing a great job. We are getting the folks responsible. However, we'd like to deter it and just not have it happen in the first place. So we are working with the community partners to include Supervisor Joya's office to come up with some ways to try and mitigate this, but it just continues to be an ongoing effort. So other things that took place in the month of February, we walked along the Wildcat Creek to look at the project for the Wildlife Fish Passage, along with the staff from Supervisor Joya's office, Verde Elementary, and many others, the East Bay Regional Parks. So there's some great plans going there. Part of that is to include a safe passage for the kids and ensuring that we're not having the folks that are setting up illegal encampments and trespassing on the property. So if you guys see that, please bring it to our attention so we can address it. First and foremost, we want to offer them resources. And then if need be, we'll take enforcement action after the fact. Next month, April 22nd, we have our 24th National Prescription Drug Take Back Day. If any of you have expired prescription drugs or prescription drugs no longer need, you want to get rid of them responsibly, you can donate them to our drop box here at West County Detention Facility at 5555 Giant Highway. We'll have a deputy and a community services officer out there between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Again, that's April 22nd, and it's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll be able to take those. That's all I have at this time. Anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you for the report. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I think we've talked about cameras a lot of times on the meeting. And over on 6, I believe you said 6, maybe 6 in Grove, because we just cleaned that up, like a week or so ago. And we talked about cameras before, and that's really a bad dumping area. They're always dumping there. So hopefully some of the mitigation funds or something can go toward some cameras to put in those areas.
That has been a discussion as part of the mitigation planning and what's working and what's not working. So that has come up recently, and also just, you know, as with the other forms of technology improves and has better capabilities. So that's one of the things that we are looking at amongst others. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I don't see any raised hands. Do you see any raised hands? Do you want to see any raised hands? You can help me out. I can't see that for right now. No raised hands. Okay.
Well, one.
We have one more.
One question. Yes, officer, is there a press release that I can link to regarding the prescription medication drop off?
There will be. I don't have it on hand right now, but if I'll put my email in the chat if you wanted to shoot me an email, I'll get it to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any others? And just for me to clarify, this is our sheriff that has just spoken. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I can see that part. I just want to make sure that you are. I knew you were law enforcement, but I just didn't know if you was Richmond or if you were our sheriff. Thank you so very much. Okay, so we do have a question. She was a little shy, but we.
Thanks for the help. Thanks for the help. Yeah, my question is, I heard that the sheriffs are doing $5,000 fines in North Richmond if they're dumping some kind of trash. Can you give details about that, or that may just not be? You know?
No, the fines are not just for North Richmond. It's an effort that's taking place countywide, and the fines are not. They don't start that steep. It's obviously looked at as a progressive. So, you know, first may, depending on the nature of it and the severity of it, you know, if you're dumping things like hazardous materials and things like that, yeah, absolutely. The fines that come with that could be significant, and they may not be coming from the sheriff's office. It could be coming from environmental health. It could be coming from other code enforcement, other partnering agencies. But the bigger concern would also be if you get actual criminal charges filed against you. So some of these things are being well, actually, all of them are being forwarded to the district attorney's office, at which point they can determine whether or not they want to pursue charges against the individual. So it's not only the fines, it's also the fact that you could be facing criminal charges for it. So there's a lot of money being spent. So just to give you guys an idea, a small illegal dump that gets picked up, depending on who's coming out to get that, between the labor hours and the cost to dispose of it, you could be looking at about a couple $1,000s is what we've been told by some of our partner agencies at the time that they're picking that debris up. So, or the waste. So you can imagine, you get that enough throughout the county, it adds up pretty significantly, and those are funds that could be going to other matters.
And just to follow up, do you know where I can find information on those fines or, yeah, like the different, I guess, the levels of the fine?
Yeah, I'll post it in the chat.
May I,
Okay. You may
Ms.
say,
Andrews?
yes.
I wanted to, I had some people working here, and they said that they were surprised at the how much it was to use the to dump. And so, they work in different areas. So they said in Napa is really low and other places is really low. So they were really surprised that the minimum here started at like 100 something. So I don't know, maybe the education, I see the thing with the vouchers, but maybe have the residents or the homeowners share with the people that are doing the work about the vouchers. I'm not sure how much the vouchers help, but I did see, like, I see in the newsletters that there are vouchers available. So I was just like, yeah, they were just saying that they were surprised at the price point for the Richmond dump.
Okay, Ms. Latifa, you have 3 representatives, but they take their hat off, that works with the mitigation. But we do have Janine here, and she can speak just briefly about the vouchers that you just mentioned for the residents and the cost of that. So I'm gonna turn it over to her just a few minutes, just to explain to you about the vouchers and how it is applied with the dump. Janine?
Thank you so much. So you have to be a North Richmond resident in order to receive the vouchers. You have to produce a PG&E bill, or cable bill, and also a copy of your ID is taken. They receive $60 vouchers, and they can only get those once a year. And they have 6 months in order to redeem those vouchers. So they are available to North Richmond residents only.
Now, I think you had another part of your question as for the people that are doing construction work for other individuals and what that dumping would be costing, because they were surprised at the amount in order to dump compared to other cities. Is that correct?
Yes.
So right now, we would have to investigate a little bit more to give you that information, because we do have our sitting chair that just came on with the mitigation. And hopefully she'll be able, and that's due say, she will be able to give you some more information. Put her on the spot, because she is our chair for the mitigation, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I can add a little to that too, Latifa. I know that in speaking with Victor, I did suggest that we can have more community events where we can have information about the vouchers, because the newsletters have not been sufficient. The newsletters are not getting broadly to residents of North Richmond, so it's really important to have physical presence to be able to distribute those vouchers. And so there was an initial conversation around that. But yeah, I can also look into the second part of your question.
So do we still do the bulk item pickup?
Yes.
Yes. And then I can tell you that I'm a resident here and I use the local dump and I own a property in Alameda County where I just did some remodeling and the prices in Alameda County were way more than the prices here per ton.
Okay. Well, thank you. We're gonna keep it moving on because we do have some presentations here, and thank you for your questions to our law enforcement. And if we have any of the law enforcement as the city of Richmond to come forward, please do. Or if we have our highway patrolman on Zoom, please, if he or she would like to make a report to us at this time. If not, we will continue to move.
Hi, it's Captain Kevin White from CHP Oakland. I'd just like to quickly introduce myself. I think last week, Lieutenant Carlton was on the meeting. This will be my first meeting. I'm a new commander here in the Oakland area. I've been here for a few months. And I know my partner lieutenant conveyed that we have a commitment to put out a cops officer in North Richmond. Formerly, that was Officer Carl Abernathy. He was a longtime cops officer serving North Richmond for a couple of years at least. And very good at that, but because we're struggling with staffing right now, we've been unable to staff that position for the past several months. And as a new commander of Oakland, I want you guys to know that I'm committed to making sure we put an officer back out there. I think Lieutenant Carlton conveyed that we have 11 officers in training right now. I expect them all to make it off of training around the month of April. And when that happens, one of my top priorities will be putting somebody out there in North Richmond to make sure we're addressing all of your concerns, whether it be a parking complaint, whether it be a crash, whether it be an abandoned vehicle, everything related to traffic, we're there for you. So I just want to personally come on the meeting and let you all know that. That is the plan, and I think that's going to happen, but not just our office, but it's the entire state that's kind of hurting with staffing right now. It's just not the Oakland area, it's Contra Costa area, it's Solano, it's people in LA. So we're all struggling there with staffing. It's just a matter of time before we get better here in Oakland and we put somebody out there in that position. So I'm just here to address any concerns you have for the CHP, let you know that we're committed to making sure we meet your needs. So with that, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay. Anyone have anything?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I want to say that my 17-year-old daughter, who just got licensed 6 weeks ago, got pulled over for speeding by Highway Patrol, and she had a very positive experience. So her first interaction was a positive one, and I think
Well, thank you for that comment. We put a top priority on how we treat the public. Of course, that's how we treat you and how we serve you is why we're here. We'll provide that high level of safety, service, and security. So when we speak with anybody from the public, it's our job to make sure we do so politely and professionally. And I like to hear that my folks are doing that. So thank you for that comment.
Hello, did we have, do you usually have people from this area applying for open positions? So will you have any officers that are from this area?
So one of the trainees, it's funny you asked that question. One of the trainees who just started a month or so ago, Officer Dye, he is from Richmond. He is from the Richmond area, and I have another officer who lives out there as well. So I do have people apply, and I do have people who live in Richmond who are serving the citizens of Richmond. But one of the reasons I'm on this call and I go out to meet with people in the community is to recruit people from this area. That's one of our main goals. So yes, we do have folks out there. When Officer Dye does make it off break in, it'd be cool if he ended up out there serving North Richmond.
Very good. Well, I would like to thank you, Officer Ashton. It was just wonderful. He was very community oriented. He did a wonderful job by looking at the traffic of vehicles, and he did a fantastic job. We truly miss him for not being out there. But thank you for taking the time and being on Zoom. And no, we were not aware of all your plans. Thank you for sharing. And we would like to keep that in mind, that you will be doing, good things out here through CHP. Okay?
Yes, and next time I meet with you folks, I hope it's to tell you that we've assigned an officer to North Richmond because everybody made it off of training and the goal's been met. So thank you very much for giving me this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have anyone from Richmond PD? Okay, hearing none. Let's keep it moving. Thank you so very much. Okay, the first item of discussion, and it is the action item 5, and what is action 5? Nothing I see. It's just that it says nothing, recommendation, anything. Okay, so let's go to item 6. Okay, I'm reading just exactly what I'm seeing. Presentations and proclamations, 15 minutes. Do we have any of those scheduled for now? And that is our East Bay Mud, correct? So we will be in our presentation for 6A East Bay Mud, budget and rate. Road is a roadshow presentation.
First of all, good evening and greetings from Director McIntosh today tonight, but she did want to say thank you to all of you for allowing us to come and speak. So we are very excited to come and share with you. First of all, for those of you from West County Wastewater, you are getting a new district secretary who is coming from East Bay Mud. We will miss her, but she is outstanding. Her name is Robin Johnson. She will do a wonderful job, although our hearts will be breaking when she's gone.
I've heard, it's really good this. So.
Yeah. And and one of the major things we'd like to talk about is this year we are celebrating 100 years. We're turning 100 this year. And we are having different events all through the community. We're having what we call water walks, where we go through and we're going to walk at San Pablo Reservoir on March 25th. And we walk and we talk, we tell you about the history of the facility and what it does. So we're doing that throughout the service area. And our general manager, who says he's not going to go, usually shows up and gives a history of wherever we go. So we're doing facilities tour, we'll be doing some Bronte in April, I believe. And so there's a lot going on. The biggest thing will be the community fair on May 21st at Lake Temescal in Oakland, when everybody's invited to attend. It's a free event for everyone to come and celebrate our 100th birthday. Now, that's the past. Now we need to talk about the future. So we can talk about moving into the next 100 years. And you know, Richmond is one of the older areas of our district, and we are turning 100. But there are pipelines in the ground in Oakland, Berkeley, some in Richmond that are over 100 years old, and we're still using. So what we need to do now is invest in our infrastructure for the future and talk about how we're going to do that. So I have Sam Feldman with us, and Sam leads our budget office. And you can tell you about.
Thank you all. Thank you.
And excuse me, Sam, please. Can you all hear pretty well on Zoom? You can just nod your head. Can you hear the presentations pretty well?
Yeah, we can hear well.
Pretty clear? Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us. You're all standing sort of close. I'm sure you all can hear me from here, but
Some of the best water in the country. Absolutely.
you know, it's true. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. Exactly, yes, I'll face, it's a very high mineral content water. I used to work for the city of Phoenix. That's what we used to say when people would say, I don't like how the water tastes. Well, we don't have that issue at East Bay Mud. We have very good water. And one of the things we want to do is make sure we keep that water great. And we are certainly talking a lot about our budget right now because we're in budget season. So I have my draft copy there that I'm going to take home, see all the flags in it. Because there's maybe a couple hundred comments I have to address tonight to hopefully get it out tomorrow again for final review. So let's go through these slides, which you might have a copy of as well. As Mona mentioned, so I'm Sam Feldman. I've been with our budget office about a year for a team of folks to help monitor the budget and help keep costs down. So
do what we can to provide help support the departments and the folks out there providing great water service and wastewater service area, which we provide wastewater service. What we do is help do that on the financial side. So we are, as Mona said, celebrating 100 years of service. We were created in 1923 by the voters of the area to do exactly what we still are doing today, which is making sure we can provide affordable water to residents here in the community. So that picture there is one of my favorite. It's the completion of Pardee Dam, Pardee Reservoir in the Sierra Foothills in 1929. So before that, there were a collection of water companies here providing water, and it was sometimes available, sometimes affordable. And the voters said, we need someone reliable, it's government, it's going to be there to do it. And that's what they did. So they created East Lehigh 100 years ago to provide that high quality water at the best rates we can provide it. So wastewater treatment was added in 1951 for that area, this area largely served by the great folks at West County Wastewater. They're stealing Robin from us, but that's okay. She is great. So we serve 1.4 million customers. Not a lot of people know, so the 13th largest water agency in the country. So we're a huge, sometimes folks don't always know we exist necessarily, but we're one of the biggest and best out there. Quality of our water is great. In fact, we're the first California water agency to get a AAA bond rating in California. And so far, we're still the only one. That was just last year. And it's because of the great financial management and the management of the resource itself, water. So as we go through, we've got challenges coming up ahead of us, and that's what we want to work on over this next 100 years. And we've got aging infrastructure. As Mona mentioned, there are pipes in the ground today still working that are over 100 years old, older than we are as a district. And some of those need replaced. And soon. We also have climate change, droughts, floods. We have greater swings between droughts and floods. Just a year ago, we were doing everything we could to buy water from other places and bring it here to make sure we didn't run out. Now we have more water than we can. And that's happening more often and more greater swings between these two. We're also dealing with emerging contaminants. We hear about PFAS, we hear about other things in our water. We have to deal with that, and we want to be ahead of it. We were ahead of things in lead, for example. We led the state to creating a lead law 30-some years ago that ended up becoming national law as well. And we want to always be ahead of those things. On the wastewater side, we've got an issue of nutrients, making sure we're discharging to the bay appropriately. And then changing regulations. The work we do is harder than it is. We couldn't build, frankly, Pardee Dam because of the environmental regulations, which are good thing. I'm not complaining about it, but it's just harder. It takes more time, it takes more effort, and we want to make sure we do it right. And then finally, we are dealing with the same issues you all are dealing with your pocketbook, inflation. We have to pay for gas for our vehicles. We have to pay for labor costs that are increasing to make sure our folks are well paid and able to afford to live here in our community. And we also have to pay a lot higher energy and chemical costs. It's wild, the chemical costs are going like 300% more for energy that we have to pay. There's about 2 suppliers out there, and somehow the war in Ukraine somehow affected the supply of chlorine. I don't know why, but that's what our suppliers are saying, is that it's hard to get chemicals on the international market. So this is the challenges we're facing. And we also need to make these generational investments. You see Orinda there, we're making big investments in Orinda to make sure we're able to deal with the future of water in our area. Our capital plan is growing by $500 million over 5 years. So we're reinvesting that aging infrastructure, being ready for the future. During the pandemic, we kept rates as low as we could to provide great service and to protect our reserves. And so now we need to focus on the future and accelerate those investments so we have a resilient, sustainable system that's reliable and provides you the service you need. So we're working on those rate increases And we'll propose them to the board in March. We'll talk about that at the end. We can go to the next one here. So what is driving rates? Why do we need to increase them? The capital investments, as I mentioned, we have big investments to make in the ground and our pipes, and our water treatment plants, reservoirs, and dealing with those emerging water side. And then we have this ongoing program, pipeline refit. You see leaks in the street. One of the things we're trying to do is replace pipe faster, actively, so there's less of those emergency leaks that you see pop up, and we want to catch up on that work. So trying to accelerate that pipeline rebuild as well. Chemicals, as I said, 90% price increase overall. Some chemicals are up to 300%. Energy costs for us, we buy on the wholesale market, are up by about 48% over these 2 years. And then software, I find this fascinating. There's only a couple pieces of software that do some of the things we need. Financial system, basically 2 companies out there. It's expensive, and they charge what they want. And so this lack of competition in software is a big challenge for us. And so we have to sometimes pay what we have to pay to get software that works for an organization with a budget of 1.3 billion a year. QuickBooks doesn't quite work, unfortunately. And then labor, smallest among these, but it's one of our biggest costs because we try to pay people enough so they can live in this high cost of living community. We try to keep up with inflation as well. We want to make sure that our workers, many of them plumbers out there, or some of our frontline engineers, need to keep up with that cost. And then, as I said, we're responsible financial stewards, unlike others out there, PG&E and others. We don't have shareholders. You are our shareholders. We're not for profit. All of our money goes back into the community, back into service. So that's an important part of what we do. Directly funds our operations and capital. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're the only California water utility to receive Moody's highest bond rating. We also have AAA from S&P, the other major large bond rating agency. So we're here in the budget process timeline. All for the folks in the room, we're about at this stage. So we're still a little bit early in the process. March 28th is what we call our budget workshop 2. That's when we formally give the board a presentation on what we recommend in terms of rates from the general manager, and then the board provides input, and we work on the next steps. There's time for review and comment. If you are a ratepayer recently MUD or a property owner, will receive your notices, Prop 218 notices. Some of you we are familiar with those, and it will provide a lot more information on how to make public comments as well through that process. We approve rates 2 years at a time. And so it'll be for this upcoming fiscal year that starts July 1, and then the next fiscal year after that. And I think finally, so visit ebmud.com/rates. ebmud.com/rates is how you get more information about the process and timeline. We're still a little early, so in the next couple of weeks, you'll see a lot more information as we release it to the public. And I think that may be the last slide. One more? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got a couple more. So, thank you. Well, your rate dollars at work. So most of our, I love this graphic because it shows you more than half of every dollar you spend on rates goes to infrastructure improvements directly. Other agencies buy their water only during drought, and we buy water, which means that we make sure your water gets from raindrop out in the lower Sierra foothills all the way through 3 aqueducts down here to the East Bay, and we treat it, and we pump it, and we get it ready, and we deliver it to your home. So 56 cents that you pay goes straight to the infrastructure from tap to raindrop. Then 28 cents goes to water service directly, so the operating side, storage, treatment, system maintenance, that kind of work. Administration is a fairly low part, about 7 cents. Internal support services like HR, budget, that kind of stuff. Community service, our billing, call center, water conservation, natural resource management. We're responsible for the lands in our watershed. So out on the Sierra Foothills, we have, I think it's 128 miles of trails here in the East Bay or out on the watershed that we manage. And then finally, regulatory compliance, making sure we're testing, treating our water to appropriate standards
make sure we're meeting that regulatory requirement. So in terms of those investments, I said it was growing about 500 million between the two systems. We're gonna, over the next 5 years, replace 127 miles of pipeline. That's out of about 4,800 miles of pipeline throughout the system. We're also going to do some big work on Urinda water treatment plant, also on the Upper San Leandro water treatment plant, including some really important seismic reliability, and chemical safety issues. Lafayette Reservoir, we're doing a new outlet tower. The outlet tower is what brings the water in the pipes. Sobrante water treatment plant also getting a big improvement to the chemical safety, and then more work on our neighborhood reservoir and pumping plant replacements as well. So an ongoing plan to replace that. In terms of wastewater, here's a little graphic of cover Richmond with wastewater. As I said, the fine folks at West County do. But again, most of that dollar is spent on infrastructure improvements of wastewater treatment. And finally, wastewater system investments. We're doing a lot of pipeline work as well there, and some big work in terms of seismic retrofit, nutrients, regulatory compliance as well. And finally, value, it's still about a penny a gallon to buy water. So if you compare it to the $2-3 for a small little bottle of water, meanwhile, you get about a gallon. So it's still really good value. And for customers who have trouble paying our bills, we're investing in this budget. We're investing more in our customer assistance program. So we're going to have someone, we're going to hire someone to manage that program proactively, get out there in the community a lot more. Fantastic folks in public affairs do a lot of advertising of it. I feel like I see it on every bus that I've ever seen drive through the area. That customer assistance, we really encourage people to use that program. It can discount your water bills up to 50%. And the income requirement, we have one of the highest income requirements in the country, which I understand. 4 times median income.
I'm not sure it's the lowest. We've got the best program in the state.
We have the best
And it's just the time that, yeah, it's also one of the oldest and the best in the state. We definitely compensate them.
We had a House member, Barbara Leak, recognized the customer assistance program board meeting just a couple months ago because it's one of the oldest and best out. So please encourage people to take advantage of them. We really want people to do that. And there's a QR code on the screen for Water Lifeline. You can also go ebmud.com/assist for more information. It's a great program. And finally, we're a community partner. So we're either out in the field or that's some volunteers. I was there, maybe not that year, I'm not sure, but I was there one of these times. We helped clean up the bed. We really, it's about 1,900, 2,000 employees. We all care deeply about this work we do in the community we serve. You out there drinking the water every day. So we want to spend another 100 years serving the community well and great, not disappoint you and provide water. And to do that, we want to raise rates to something that the best we can do to provide the best service and support. So that's it. I went a little longer than I hoped. But any questions?
Okay, thank you. So are there any questions during the council? Okay, we have Beverly and Will and Susie and Ray. Okay.
Just curious about the plan for the infrastructure. Are you guys going by oldest, newest, by major, minor, by zip code? How are you guys planning the infrastructure? Because usually the poorest communities like North Richmond get on the tail end of such projects and other communities have.
I would say there's 2 things we're doing in that area. One, well, our engineering groups do prioritization based on quality of life. What's interesting about that, what I find interesting, they do it based on what they expect the quality is before they open up. Sometimes they'll rate something like an F. It's the most high priority. When they cut it into the ground, do the digging, they find that's actually not that bad. It should be a little bit worse off based on our estimate. So one of the things we're doing in this budget is funding a position to do some innovative work with UC Berkeley on figuring out how do we assess the quality of pipe in the ground without having to. So there's some fascinating things we already do, like leak detection through satellites, flyover detection, and I see where are leaks underground, we don't even know they're happening yet. So we do some of that, but how do we identify from a real numbers science perspective, what is the pipe that needs to be replaced next? So that's one thing we're doing to invest better in this. And then just to your other point, one of the things we've done over the last couple of years is the diversity, equity, inclusion strategic plan, and a 2-year action plan. And this budget will fund some pilot work to figuring out how do we integrate our capital program into this DEI work. Because a lot of engineers, they love what they do, but they're engineers. And so they think from a numbers perspective, where I'm from, and maybe from where Mona sees it, it's also about the community. Sometimes it's not alone about the strings of pipes, but it's figuring out how do we make sure we're serving everyone in not only what science would say equally, but is what we think is the way to do it that advances equity, and even something as as technical as infrastructure. The infrastructure needs to evolve equity. So that's something this budget will invest.
Thank you.
Good more attitude.
Okay, Jorge, Chief.
That was one of my questions too, but more than anything too, is there anything being done at the San Pablo Reservoir at all? Anything related to that? I know that's the closest one that we have to our community here. And do you guys plan on anything regarding, does this relate anything at all to sewer laterals with, let's say, homeowners? And what does that look like as far as, is it gonna be the same thing that we've seen in Alameda County, the county, in which if you're selling a property, more than anything, either the seller has to replace the sewer lateral and or the new buyer has, I believe, 60 days to replace it.
Yeah.
So for the sewer laterals, that's part of the wastewater program, so that for you guys with the West County requirements, so that there aren't as many leaks going into the bay. So that doesn't change. It depends on what city you live in and on the county. Those are the requirements. So that won't change as far as the requirements for that. We don't really have control over it, except that to say this needs to be replaced because if you don't, this is the end result. So that's that information you're trying to get out. San Pablo Reservoir, which historically, when the water first flowed into the East Bay, it landed at San Pablo Reservoir. So it was where the first water first landed. We're not doing any changes to San Pablo right now. It looks great if you get a chance to go out there because it's been a long time since it's been that full. So we're not doing anything right now. The work you're going to see in Richmond is at Subrante Water Treatment Plant. We're doing some improvements there because, of course, there are a lot more people served now. The plant is older, so we're expanding it so it can serve more people and it can be more efficient. So you'll see us talking about that, and that project will kick off probably by the summer. We're going to have the facilities tours, and we're going to invite you to come and walk the facilities. We had some objections from the community around there. Oh, it's going to be too much noise. Oh, we're going to be able to see it. Our response to that is, do you want some water? Yeah. So, so that's most of what you're going to see. You're going to also see a lot of pipeline rebuild in Richmond, and because the pipes are old, coming through, it's messy, it's dirty, and it takes a while for us to come back and pave it. But it's better than if you allow the pipes to break. It costs about, what is it, $1.2 million to replace a mile of pipe. That's right. Yeah, just to replace a mile of pipe. That's not a broken. So you can imagine how much it costs to be that thing. So that's what you're seeing in your area. I do want to encourage all of you to spread the word about our customer assistance program because it is great, and we try to tell people and I've got a couple of flyers in the week. Also, there is another program, and I'm going to be working with Robert. There's a program called LIWA, and it's the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program. That's a federal and state program. So we're going to be working with Robert to get the word out about that because we don't have a lot of participation in Contra Costa County, and the money is there. And is that more than 50%? It's enough. If the program focuses on people who have you have owed in the past, it helped them catch up. So now this next one is, okay, if you're struggling, they'll help you with that. But it's because it's state federal, it's convoluted. So we're gonna be working with Robert and Supervisor Joy's office to try to straighten it out to make it easy so far.
So I have a question.
I have a question too.
Okay, so I have two questions and actually a comment. As far as the program you just mentioned for individuals to do a catch up on their billing, how does that fan out for the ones that have been habitually overusing the water? I mean, at the time of the drought. Are you paying? Oh, they pay. They are paying, so you're not just gonna check. Oh, no, okay, so that was my other, like, around, I just took more fast.
This program is based on your payment. Okay, so those who have excessive use, we charge them extra.
Okay, very good. And the other, thank you for explaining that. And the other was, as Director Alvarado and myself actually came up to the presentation that was given by our Honorable Lisa McIntosh, and she spoke of a program that can help with landscaping.
Yes.
Okay, so would you all mention that, or can we a little bit have a little?
Sure, I can give you kind of a brief review of it. Our water conservation office has a program where they offer you, say you have a lawn and green grass, you take out your lawn, you replace that with drought tolerant landscaping. Our program not only compensates you for that, but they have people who will help give you ideas on how to do it with plants to use, that kind of thing. And it's a great program, but do not start tearing out your lawn before you talk to them.
Right, okay.
They have to sign up, don't get So even though the drought is over, that program is still.
Okay.
So you can just keep spending on water conservation, and they're very excited folks. They will just they will just jump on help. So yes, but it's a great program.
Didn't we increase 3 years?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just double?
Yeah, almost 75%.
Yeah.
And just, there's one more, if I may, just,
yeah, other than the low income, are you guys doing any programs for seniors?
The seniors, the programs for seniors fall into the CAP program because it's income based. And we do want to stress, you can be a homeowner, you cannot be a homeowner, it doesn't matter, it's just based on you.
oh, I got it. Oh, it just came back. Okay, now, as far as the level of the water in our reservoir, are we at 110%, 145%? And I know that's for what is it, do we have any type of holding for that additional water? Where do we send it in order for, if we need it again, where's that, as far as all this runoff? Where does that runoff go and where is it housed in order for us to use it again, like banking, where is it?
Well, that water goes into, like I said, Hopper Reservoir, or our reservoirs. We store water there. We do have some injection sites. We don't have very many where we inject water into the ground. That water stays underground. And when you ever put out, we use it for irrigation so that we'll have more drinking water with it. We won't waste that on irrigation. So we do have that, and most of those it's only into our open cut reservoir. We are very heavily regulated, so that's not, some of it we have to just let go because that's what regulations. But we are not 100% full, but we're very close. And we are not going, yay, everything's perfect, because last year we thought, yay, everything's perfect, and it didn't rain for like a whole year.
Yeah.
So we want to get ahead first.
Now, this budget also does make an investment in the expansion of one of our partner agency reservoirs, Los Vaqueros. So we may work on expanding our capacity to store water. Again, it's all about the extremes of the climate these days. You can get really wet, get a lot of water, and you can't keep it all, and then it's dry for 2 years, there's no rain at all. So this potential investment, we're still exploring, So with some of our partners to increase the size of our partner agency's reservoir. Could be a big, another investment we make. To make sure.
We have 2 other questions, and if we're gonna finish, because we have 2 more presentations, okay? So let's do Lucy and then Jorge.
I had a question also. Thank you.
Okay, well, yours will be the last one, and then we'll move on. Okay, continue.
Start with the easy question. The budget workshop, the second one on March 28th. What time is that at?
That's a good question. I think we haven't set a time, but they're usually about 9.
Yeah.
They're available on Zoom and.
Can you send those link to Robert and maybe Robert can send me, but, and then the second question is, on the generational investment, second bullet point, moderated rates. How were those moderated during the pandemic and how were the impacts on the reserves? How were those impacted?
Yeah, great question. So 4 years ago, at about this time, we thought we would need 5% rate increases every year, or even 6% every year for the next 5 years. Then 2 years ago, we were in the pandemic still, and still are to some extent. And 2 years ago, the board explored opportunities to reduce that as they went down to 4% instead of 5 or 6%. And so they were at 4% for 2 years. Last year, we issued some debt, so that helped pay for capital expenses. So we were just about in last fiscal year. This year on the water side, we're probably going to spend about $200 million more than we take in. That's because of these capital needs. And we tried to debt fund some of that, and what we call that is intergenerational equity. So some of these pipes we're putting in the ground, the major investments we're making in water treatment plants. We don't want you as a ratepayer today only to pay for it. We also want future ratepayers to be part of it. So it's sort of a co-investment between you today and you tomorrow and your kids in the future. So that's why we do issue debt for some of our capital. And so, again, about 200 million this year. We'll use on it.
Right.
Yeah, are there any concerns with the snow melting? It's around 90%. We're probably just gonna have a surplus for a little bit. I'm assuming
This is why we're keeping about 80–90% right now, is because as that snow starts to melt, if it melts too fast, you get a really hot day, start to melt that snow. Suddenly we're talking, remember like 5–6 years ago, one of the city reservoirs was overfilling. We want to make sure we're not there. So one of our challenges of our water supply, I don't envy their job. So when they start to get all this rain, even if we're at 60 or 70% full, they're like, we need to start releasing because what if the rain keeps coming? Can't release too fast, it's flood people downstream. It's a tough job. So yeah, I think they're trying right now to balance that as much as they can. The other thing is when we release the water from our reservoirs, we produce power hydroelectric. We sell, we make money to lower your rates, keep your rates affordable. So we're always trying to balance how much water you release to make power, but not too much water because we got to keep it. But it's if anyone wants that job, I'm not.
and that actually takes me to that point. It's like for the energy.
Yeah.
So I mean, you said 48 increase, right? But considering producing our own energy, and let's say partnerships with perhaps PG&E or any fossil fuels. Any talks about that on the table to kind of like reduce that percent?
Yes, so it's a fascinating, we budget pretty conservatively for power. So like this year, we're gonna earn about $14 to $17 million from sale of power. We spend about $40 million. So we always spend more to buy it than we do to produce it. And so, but next year, for example, we're budgeting about $8 million power. Now, it may be much higher. One of the benefits for us selling power is that natural gas prices are really high. So that means wholesale power market's good. We can sell it for a lot of money. But sometimes like that, it flips around and we can sell it for as much. Or it's a dry year, it's something we can't sell. So we can keep more of it in the reservoir. So it is a tricky balance. In the end, the power prices end up hurting. So we can only help some set the price increase.
PG&E doing y'all like they do with us?
So maybe worse, because there's some protections for consumers, like the, Public Utilities Commission, that not always protecting the wholesale buyers. They pass it on right as soon as they.
Okay, thank you. One more, and let's wrap it up.
Okay. I wanted to find out, so you mentioned infrastructure, and then I also saw something on the latter slide about community investment. So are those two different things? And I'm not sure if I heard a clear answer on what you would be doing in North Richmond. Yeah, so if you could just clarify, will there be community investment, or what does that look like for North Richmond? And will there be upgrading for infrastructure in North Richmond? Thank you.
Okay, so what you'll see mostly in North Richmond is pipeline replacement, where we'll be in the streets digging up and replacing the pipes. You don't have any large facilities in North Richmond right now. If you see anything beyond pipeline replacement, it'll be where we're replacing a pump station so that we can pump the water to the reservoir. But from what I've seen for the next at least 2 to 3 years, it's mostly pipeline replacement.
Got it. Thank you.
I would say, to extend time, community investment is also in people. One of the things this budget does is add some more boots on ground, because there are places within the district that are not quite as diverse as we want to be. We want to have more engineers that are women and people of color. We want to have more LGBT people applying for these. Some of these jobs where we weren't historically targeting to get workers. We know we need that. So that's one part of our community investment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, and I am really excited about Eastbay always, but about empowering people and saving people money. There are people all over our communities who consistently buy bottled water because they think that the water out of their tap is of lower quality. And when they do that, they're paying like a 700, 800, 900% markup. What do your scientists and executives at Eastbay Mud think about spending money on bottled water?
I would say I don't use my fridge filtered water because I think it's probably worse than straight out of the tap. I don't know who replaces that filter. I guess it's supposed to.
Every 3 to 6 months. Yeah.
Really? Oh, see, I'm really.
Indicator from the refrigerator tells you the next time to change it. You got it.
See. All right, yeah, it's.
But I have a quick comment, and then we can wrap it up. But I am one that turned into having water delivered due to we had a water shortage and everybody was buying out all the water. And the lacking of not getting water, the shelves was empty, so I went to that. So, but prior to that,
It's a great.
Okay, just remember, when you buy water in a bottle,
no.
yeah, they have 2 people for the entire state of California that goes and tests that water. 2. We test our water 20,000 times a year. Okay, and also, when you look at the bottle, it says locally resourced. That's just Eastbay Mud water in a bottle, so you're paying for it twice. It's a city line that goes in a bottle. I poured one many years ago. This is city water.
There's so many back to you.
Right, and then it's like, yeah, I didn't notice that.
They add some nutrients to change the flavor.
This is amazing.
But I don't drink recycled water. Recycled water is not used for consumption. It can only be used for things like irrigation. So Eastbay Mud water comes from the Sierra Mountains. Yeah.
And the containers in the container.
Yes. Yes. Stop buying bottles of water.
Thank you.
How do you get? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
If you have any questions for us, please send them to Robert. He'll pass them to you after.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so thank you so very much. Wonderful presentation, and I'm just going to hear everybody on Zoom enjoyed it all.
And I think that we had a positive experience with you. I know PG&E has come through here, BART has come through here, AZ, and it's not always pleasant. We kind of feel like as consumers we're being taken advantage of.
Oh.
But I enjoyed your presentation.
Well, thanks for having us.
And please tell your folks what the job is on our website. I'm going to start at spring, and then
Okay, very good, thank you. Thank you.
Don't have cards.
Okay, we're gonna go next to, item six B, the Youth Service Center presentation by the social progress. And that will be Ms. Eleanor Thompson, I believe.
Thank you.
We sent something over to Robert that we wasn't gonna do presentation tonight. Robert,
Yeah,
you did get that, right?
Thank you very much, Eleanor. Yes, that's right. Unfortunately, it was after the time that the agenda had already been.
It's okay, thank
published
you.
by law. But thank you, Eleanor. We'll get you next time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, looking forward to you next time, okay? All right, let's go to Pacific Environment presentation on ports for the people.
Robert, should I share my screen or will you share?
Yes, please do.
Okay, just give me one moment.
You should have sharing capabilities, and if you don't, we'll figure it out or we'll do it for you.
Okay. Okay, do you see the whole presentation or do you see like speaker notes?
Looks good.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to present tonight. My name is Jane Stevenson, and I'm here with the organization Pacific Environment. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about a regulation in California called the at-birth rule and how it affects the state and the Richmond community and how community members could get involved with our work. First, I want to provide some background on Pacific Environment. We're an environmental NGO based in San Francisco, dedicated to protecting communities and the environment around the Pacific Rim. We have permanent consultative status at the International Maritime Organization, which is the United Nations entity that sets global ocean shipping laws. And we're committed to getting ships off of fossil fuels and are working to advocate for policies around the country and the world that advance a clean and equitable global shipping sector. So we have two major campaigns called Ship at Zero and Ports for People. Ship at Zero is our corporate pressure campaign urging some of the largest retailers in the world like Target, Amazon, and IKEA to take responsibility for their ocean shipping pollution and commit to shipping their goods on zero emission vessels. Ports for People is our ports policy advocacy campaign, which is seeking to transform ports from hotspots of fossil fuel pollution to thriving hubs of sustainable economic development and environmental protection. Through our Ports for People campaign, we are committed to decarbonizing the shipping industry throughout the Pacific Rim, with a particular focus on the US West Coast. Ports for People has three main goals, which are to stop ports' fossil fuel buildout, put ships on a mandatory zero emission pathway, and create zero emission trade routes. Pacific Environment is committed to advancing clean shipping regulations in the state of California. Last year, we worked with a coalition of environmental justice groups to get the Harborcraft rule passed in the state. And now we are focused on implementation of California's at-birth rule and setting zero emission standards for ocean-going vessels. So today I'm going to provide an overview of California's at-birth rule, how it affects the Richmond community, and the next steps in Pacific Environment's work. Before talking about the specifics of the regulation, I want to provide some context on why regulating ocean-going vessels in Richmond is so important. With ocean-going vessels here referring to ships that are carrying cargo long distances across the ocean between foreign and domestic ports. So as seen on this chart on the slide, ocean-going vessels represent the largest contribution to most criteria pollutants and carbon dioxide emissions emitted at the Port of Richmond, particularly sulfur dioxide, particulate matter, and nitrous oxides, all of which are harmful to human health. And so this chart is from the Clean Air Action Plan for the Port of Richmond, and it's showing a historical representation of pollution sources at the Port of Richmond. And so it's clear from this slide that ocean-going vessels are playing a significant role in emissions at the port and need to be mitigated. More broadly, in the state of California, ships are one of the worst air polluters in the state. They have surpassed heavy-duty trucks in their NOx emissions and are estimated to contribute to around 3,700 premature deaths each year. Also, ocean-going vessels are the #1 driver of cancer risk to frontline communities at ports due to their diesel particulate emissions. So it's a really important issue to address through policy, which is exactly what California's at-berth rule is intended to do. It is intended to reduce air pollution emitted at California ports. It was first adopted in 2007, applying to container, reefer, and cruise vessels at 6 California ports, which did not include the Port of Richmond because the Port of Richmond does not call these vessels. It requires regulated vessels to plug into shore power while docked at the port or at berth. And so we can think of ships at berth like cars idling. Even when they're docked at the port and they're not moving, they still continue to emit pollution. So this regulation is intended to reduce that port pollution by ensuring that any power ships need while they're at the port to unload their cargo is provided by electricity from the grid, from renewable resources, rather than by running dirty diesel engines that are at the port and really close to port communities. And so it's been really successful in reducing vessel emissions. It's estimated to have reduced vessel emissions by 80% since 2014. But in 2020, the California Air Resources Board actually went further and strengthened the rule by including additional vessel types that weren't previously regulated. So this includes auto carriers known as ro-ro vessels and tanker vessels. And this is particularly important for Richmond and the Port of Richmond because now, since the Port of Richmond calls these types of vessels, it will be included in the regulation. And there's a terminal-based visit threshold to determine which ports and terminals have to comply with the regulation. And so in the rule, it states that any terminal or port that receives 20 or more visits in a given year from the vessels that I've listed, container, reefer, cruise vessels, as well as now ro-ro and tanker vessels, they are all regulated. And so there's this shared responsibility between the vessels, the terminals, and the ports, where terminals and ports have to provide adequate infrastructure for shore power, and then vessels have to be able to plug into shore power. So all three parties face requirements to be able to ensure that vessels are coming into a port and have the infrastructure that they need to plug into the grid. The implementation of this rule is staggered with the implementation beginning for container, reefer, and cruise vessels in 2023. So at the start of this year. And these vessels were already regulated in the previous rule, but now it may apply to additional terminals given this terminal-based terminal visit like threshold that I mentioned before. And now in 2025, auto carriers will have to comply with the rule, and 2025 and 2027 for tanker vessels, 2025 in the Los Angeles Long Beach area, and 2027 in Northern California, which would apply to the Port of Richmond. And this regulation is expected to have really significant health and environmental benefits. The updated rule with the 2020 amendments is estimated to save 237 lives and yield $2.31 billion in public health benefits for Californians between 2021 and 2032 while reducing pollution by 90%. And what's significant is that there's a large decrease in cancer risk estimated for the Richmond community as seen on this figure. The California Air Resources Board estimates that potential cancer risk will go down by 55%. And that means that more than 12,500 people would have their potential cancer risk reduced when this rule is fully implemented in Richmond, of which 11,000 people are living in disadvantaged communities. Similar to cars and trucks, we believe that ships can and must transition to zero emissions. So we have 3 demands for the California Air Resources Board that we'd love to have community support on. The first is full implementation of the regulation that I just talked about without any delay. So this means rejecting any efforts by industry to delay implementation of this rule that will save lives. And the second recommendation is to go even further, to adopt a zero emission shipping standard for ocean-going vessels by 2040. And we're pushing the California Air Resources Board on this because the at-berth rule is just addressing emissions from vessels when they're at the port. But we know that the largest emission source from ocean-going vessels happens when they're actually in transit, when they're moving from point A to point B. And so we want CARB to set a standard that makes it so vessels have to be zero emission regardless of whether they're in transit or they're docked at the port. But we know that 2040 is still many years away, and port communities need protection from vessel emissions now. So we're also pushing the California Air Resources Board to start phasing out the dirtiest ships immediately by 2028. And so that will deliver more immediate protection to port communities while still working on a zero emission shipping standard by 2040. And so we need community support for this work, which is why we are asking you all to engage with us on this issue. And there are 4 ways that we have we thought that community members could support our work. The first is to attend the May 25th or 26th CARB board hearing in Riverside or virtually to provide verbal comments. So this is the CARB board hearing when the board is going to decide if there should be any changes to the regulation, and we'll consider giving CARB staff direction to begin creating a new regulation. This board hearing will likely be 2 days, and so we're not sure at the moment whether or not this agenda item would fall on the 25th or the 26th, but that will be the timing of this board hearing when this issue will be on the docket. And so we're trying to rally support for this issue either in person, but Riverside's quite far away, so virtually will always be an option as well. The second, we have an environmental coalition letter going with over 30 environmental and environmental justice groups signed on. And so if you are part of an environmental group and you'd like to sign on to our coalition letter, you can do so by going to this link on the slide. We would really appreciate that support, and you would join, as I mentioned, over 30 groups signed on. We also have a petition for individuals to fill out. So regardless if you're part of an organization or not, everyone could go to this link that's included on the slide and sign this petition to CARB that is outlining the demands that I just talked about on the previous slide. And lastly, if you are really motivated by this issue and you want to get involved further, we would encourage you to write an op-ed or letter to the editor, which we would be happy to help with the writing or placing the letter. This would be a really impactful way to get the word out, but we are also open to any other ways that folks would want to get involved. We would welcome that and would encourage you to contact us if that's the case. And so with that, I just want to say thank you again so much for letting me present on this issue. My email is here, as well as the email of our state climate policy director at Pacific Environment. So if you have any questions or you're interested in getting involved with our work on this issue, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thank you so very much. Now, at this point, do we have any questions or comments from the council? Okay.
I have one question as an added cruiser. I know that they just started increasing the cruise options in California with Carnival coming out of San Francisco and Royal Caribbean coming out of LA. Will these regulations and enforcement affect the cruise industry much in California?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So cruise vessels have been included in the regulations since the beginning, since 2007. And so they have been and will continue to be facing requirements to plug into shore power. What might change is that additional terminals and ports that weren't included in the original regulation might be added, but cruise vessels as a category have been and will continue to be included in this rule.
I do have one for you, just looking at the emissions and who are involved with, this plan, you know, at the point of looking at the emissions that are, looking at, and we're trying to drop the emissions from these different vehicles. Is our environmental, are you with our environmental study here with the, what is it called? The environmental part that we're on, which is private choice.
The environmental.
The environmental justice that we would meet constantly, where we measure the emissions.
Oh, the Bay Area.
Right.
Bay Area.
Thank you, I think I'm right. So are we part of that?
I'm sorry, I kind of missed the end of what organization you're referring to. If maybe Robert, you can say it again since you're closer to the mic.
Bay Area Air Quality Management District.
Oh, we are a separate entity, so we are a nonprofit, but we have collaborated with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District on shipping and port related issues. So we've been in communication with their staff, but we are separate entities.
Right, okay, because I know this is a lot of work we did 3 or 4 years ago, and it's been up on it, and I just wanted to see how more in partnership or collaboration that you are, your entity is with what has been going on the last 4 years. Okay, thank you, Robert. Anyone else? Yes, do.
How long are the vessels on shore?
You know, that is not something that I'm familiar with off the top of my head, but I think it varies depending on like how much cargo there is to unload. My colleague Teresa Bowie is also on the call, so if she has a more definitive answer, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, that's something we can follow up on.
Yeah, in general, they could dock a few days to a few weeks, depending on what their next, like for cruises, you know, in terms of unloading, but if it's like a fishing vessel, they might take longer to idle at the port.
Thank you. And my last question is, I see the numbers of like lung cancer and the emissions percentages and whatnot, but how many OGBs actually come to the port of Richmond?
That's a great question. We can follow up with that because I don't have that number off the top of my head. So we can follow up with that offline.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have any other questions? At this time, none, any on Zoom? Seeing none? Okay, well, thank you so very much for the presentation, very informative. And I think that you have your contact information here, and we will look forward to hearing more of your discovery and how these come out. Okay, so thank you so very much. So with that, that concludes our presentation for tonight. And we will be entering into our agencies and program reports. At this point, for the City of Richmond Community Service Department, do we have anyone to share on Zoom? Okay, hearing none. Don't think I'm rushing you all. I just want everybody to be present as we're moving on. We have a amount of timeline. We want to be out by 7. Okay, Shields Street, Neighborhood Council, not at this time, unless we have our president, Sabrina Brown, online. Okay. Country Costa Housing Authority, do we have anyone to report out there?
Hi, everybody. This is Tony Usferi with the Housing Authority, Contra Costa County. Just wanted to give everybody a little update. So I think we've nailed down a release date for the request for qualifications for the nonprofit developer sales of the scattered sites for $1. That we're targeting April 10th. You know, don't write down the date yet. We will,
Okay,
we will make it official and definitive at the next SMAC meeting on April 4th, but we believe it'll be April 10th. Just as a reminder, this is going to be 28 units or 16 buildings, 12 duplexes and 4 single-family dwellings that are going to be made available for $1 to only nonprofit developers. And then after that process is done, we will be making the remaining 52 units or 26 duplexes available for sale in the private market. And just as a reminder, all of these units need a lot of repairs, a lot of work. Most of them just need to be taken down to the studs and rebuilt. Others, you know, you could save the frame and then just build out the inside again. But the RFP the RFQ, hopefully will be released in that first week or two of April. And there'll be a 90-day application period for developers to submit those proposals. And then we're wrapping up some interviews with the people from the community who are interested in being on the selection panel. And we will be making a determination of who those 3 residents will be, in addition to myself, some people from the Department of Conservation and Development, and some other you know, industry experts who will have you know, enough to contribute to the evaluation process to help us make some informed decisions about who we want to negotiate with on this whole process about, you know, buying the properties, keeping them affordable after they've been rehabbed, selling them to families that are at 80% of AMI or below. So all of this process will be getting rolled out here in the next week or two. Ms. Thompson, I see you have a question.
The question, when you say developers, nonprofit developers, what exactly does that mean?
So these are certified 501c3 nonprofits who actually also work as housing developers. So they build housing, they develop housing for either rental or sale in this particular situation back to the community. And for example, like CHDC, Don Gilmore's agency is a nonprofit housing developer.
Okay.
There's quite a few of them throughout the Bay Area. You know, we operate a program called the Project-Based Voucher Program, and you know, for the, you know, with 100% accuracy, all of those owners are all nonprofit developers. So you have agencies like Resources for Community Development, Satellite Affordable Housing Association, CHDC. Who else is out there?
Neighborhood housing, yes.
Neighborhood Housing Services, Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services.
Right.
There's a number of them out there. So, you know, unless, you know, if you are a nonprofit developer, you know it. If you're not, you probably know it as well. So.
Thank you.
Yep. And so that's all I have for today. Hopefully we'll have more for you next week or next meeting. As you know, we've been keeping a list of names of people that were interested in getting more information. We will be sending out notification to those folks as well as, you know, letting everybody at the MAC know next month, and then get the process started. We've been waiting a long time, and so we're very excited to get this going.
Okay, thank you so very much. Okay, looking forward to keep it moving. All right, next we'll be having Robert from Supervisor Joy's office, please.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair Annie King. Robert Rogers here on behalf of County Supervisor John Joya's office. A couple of quick things. Number one, we had an incredible reopening, reactivation of the Pinole Fire Station, Station 74. And that's funded in part by County Measure X dollars. And the good news is that having this additional station with additional fire and paramedics improves emergency response time throughout our entire West County area. So improvements in emergency response for life-saving support is right here in North Richmond, thanks to the opening of this new fire station, the reactivation, I should say. There's more information, of course, all over the web on that. I can share if needed. Also, we had the great privilege, and Andy Meredith was there as well, to being a big supporter, to go to the Black History Month celebration at Richmond City Hall a couple weeks ago. This was a phenomenal event where we really celebrated Richmond's history in sports and recreation. Some of the greatest athletes and leaders in Richmond history were celebrated there, including Charlie Reed, the great man after whom the center is named, Shields Reed. This was all put on by the great Doug Harris, who everyone knows in North Richmond produced some of the best or the best documentarian work about the history of North Richmond. So it was a truly wonderful event. There's a lot online. I can give anybody resources on that. And I know Andy Meredith might want to say a few more words about that as well. Also coming up at Verity Elementary School, I know Marta already mentioned this, but save the date, March 22nd, community fair. It's not just for parents and children, although it's for them, of course, but everybody can support our local school. It's one of the greatest jewels in North Richmond. March 22nd, that afternoon, reach out to me or Marta for more information about that. And then lastly, it's just really good to be back here in Miss Colleen Singing Center, which I have not been back to since her lovely picture was hung on the wall. I'm so grateful for Janine and CHGC. You're managing the building so well. In fact, the last time I was here, I think, was for our community paint day, when we were all in here splattering paint around, making a big mess. And look how beautiful the walls look today. So it's really great to be back here, having our back meetings hosted here, getting together and being able to broadcast via Zoom for those who are unable or unwilling to come out in public. They're able to Zoom in. That's wonderful also. So a lot of good things going on. Happy to report. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert. And just one thing I just want to just segue before we go into our next community report. One of the things that was very exciting about our Black History program that Doug Harris and Angela Cox put on through the Richmond Library was that we had award-winning, outstanding California track and field state awardees that came from all over the country to be there. One of our main talents for that won all El Cerrito, not El Cerrito, but as I mentioned, Supervisor Joya did get a chance to run against the high power team. But it was Harry Ellis took state in California, and those individuals came back to this Black History program, and it was just phenomenal to see all the well-deserved, high award-winning track and field individuals that was there at that night. So I just wanted to let you know that it was wonderful, great highlight. Okay, moving on, Community Housing Development Corporation, Don is not here. And I'm not filling in at this time, so we're gonna keep it moving for our community CHC litigation coordinator, which is me.
Okay, so I'm gonna be covering for Victor. The newsletters will be distributed this week. The Earth Day planning is on is work with the community-based projects. So if you're interested in participating in the planning stages of the Earth Day, please email Victor. And Earth Day will be on April the 2nd. And that will be all that I have for litigation.
Okay, thank you. Janine. Okay.
But, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, one more thing, I'm just excited about this. So, tomorrow, Richmond High School vocational students will have their days of caring. They will be here tomorrow, and they'll be coming twice a month to help seniors learn how to use their cell phones, computers, and also how to speak English. Starting tomorrow at 1:30. And so I'm very excited about that. And then our new multicultural club will be hosting a St. Patrick's Day multicultural talk Friday game day. And that will be on March the 17th and from 11:30 to 1. That's all I have. Thank you.
And it's open to the seniors, no?
Everybody.
Everyone.
Everybody was $7.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, very good. Richmond Land?
Yeah, no major updates on, in the organization, but I did want to share that tomorrow we have the equitable development, subcommittee at 10:30 a.m. So if anyone's interested, please log in. And that's it for my update.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Corporation Richmond, is that, Princess, yeah, yeah, but she's not on, right? Is she? Kristen's not here, I know she's not physically here, so.
I don't think so.
She's not on?
Anyone from Corporation Richmond?
Okay, here, okay, and how about Urban Tilt, and that is, Ms. Latifah?
Yes, ma'am. So we have the, let me turn my camera on. I want to thank the Senior Center for inviting us to the Black History Program on the 28th. We had a great time. Yeah, it was kind of like, oh, it was really nice. The line dancing, the music, the food, everything was great. We just had a awesome time. So thank you again for inviting us. And for with regard to Urban Tilt, let me just I'll go over a couple of things that I mentioned at the beginning. So we have our fruit tree giveaway. That's going to be at Verde on Saturday from 10 to 12, and it's the first come, first serve basis. And we have, I mentioned that we have the Community Advisory Committee. We want to involve people from the community to advise us on different things at the North Richmond Farm. Currently, we are seeking Southeast Asian representation, and I can put the link in the chat here. And then let's see here. Multitasking here. Okay, this is the link for the Community Advisory Committee. And we are very excited on March 25th, Saturday, March 25th, we have our Local Heroes in Rain Gardens program. It's the official opening of our rain gardens on Fred Jackson Way. And we have the honor of celebrating some of our community. And so part of that, let me just share with you the names here. So, so we're going to start at the Richmond Farm at 10 a.m. and that way you can get a tour of the rain gardens and the farm. And at 12, we'll have the meet and greet at the North Richmond Missionary Baptist Church. At 1:30, the official program starts where we'll be honoring Miss Janine Shahid, Princess Robinson, Miss Annie Marie King Meredith. We'll also be honoring Fred Jackson, Whitney Dotson, Dr. Henry Clark, and Mike Carlson. So I want you all to come out. It's a day of celebration of community and legacy. So that's all I have for now. Thank you.
I have a question. With the first giveaway,
Yes, ma'am.
I picked up a tree or two a few years ago because they said, come get them, they'll come with instructions. I I early went down and picked up the trees, and the instructions said dig the hole deeper than you think it might be. All these trees come with instructions for what is big deeper than you think you might.
You know what? You know what? We have a whole team that can, we have some young people that are happy to help you come out and even plan it for you. So if you need help, you just.
I see it better. Did you get those instructions?
Yeah, my plum trees are extra, my cherry tree, yeah, and I see, yeah. I gotta come back.
I guess I did when I did.
Yeah, yeah, but, yeah.
All right, so I will let the young people know, the gleaning team know that, yeah, well, they may have some requests for people to actually come out and just plan it for them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Latifah. Okay, so, I guess, but this will conclude our meeting for tonight. I would like to thank, I would like to thank everyone for joining us and being a part of this meeting. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April the 4th, on Zoom and here in person. Our host has provided some knickknacks, so don't think that you'll still in the meeting and be home. She has, Ms. Janine was very gracious to have, both sides candy, something more you can snack on, so feel free to still come out. You know, I know it's in the dinner time, but still come out. It's worthwhile to come out and be involved in the community, and hear what the community is. So with that, as I stop saying, April 4th, 23, 5 to 7 will be our next meeting. And here at 515 Silver Avenue in Richmond, North Richmond. So thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful night and looking to see you next month. Thank you again. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
I can